Hello and thank you for joining us on NTA Nationwide. I'm Naja Atutijani. 108 new cases of COVID-19 have been reported. 78 are in Lagos, 14 in the FCT, 5 in Ogun, 4 in Gombe, 3 in Borno, 2 in Akwa Ibom, 1 in Kwara, and 1 in Plateau State. As at 11:30 p.m. 23rd April 2020, there are 981 confirmed cases of COVID-19 reported in Nigeria. 197 have been discharged and 31 deaths recorded so far. And now let's join Mitaire Ikpen live from the SGF's office for highlights of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Mitaire, what's the latest?
Good afternoon, Najatu. The Presidential Task Force this evening said it has secured life insurance cover for about 5,000 workers who are in the front line in the fight against COVID-19. This is coming as a motivation, especially against the backdrop of the reports by the Minister of Health yesterday that more than 40 health workers has tested positive for the coronavirus. So this incentive of life insurance cover, no doubt, is expected to encourage the health workers. Again, the Presidential Task Force today emphasized the need for farmers to prepare for the next planting season. The Presidential Task Force says this is necessary because food security and self-sufficiency cannot be compromised as the nation battles the coronavirus. Again, the Presidential Task Force says wearing of the face mask is mandatory, but is only one of all precautionary measures the country has to take in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. And good enough, today the National Union of Textile and Garment Workers presented locally produced face masks to the Presidential Task Force for onward distribution to frontline workers who are involved in the fight against the coronavirus. The Presidential Task Force today again reiterated its appeal to Muslims who have commenced the Ramadan fast to observe all the advisories, especially that of social distancing and observance of personal hygiene as part of effort to curb community transmission of the coronavirus during the Ramadan season. And of course, it felicitates with all Muslims at this time and is hopeful that all prayers offered to the Almighty during this season will be answered. Those are some of the highlights. Najat.
Mitaire, thank you very much. Well, thank you for those updates. And following the sighting of the Ramadan crescent, President Muhammadu Buhari sends his best wishes to Muslims in the country and all over the world as they begin this year's month-long fasting. A statement from the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, quotes the President as congratulating all Muslims as they commence this year's Ramadan fast, which is depicted by self-denial, universal brotherhood, austerity, and helping relatives and the needy. President Buhari describes Ramadan 2020 as a challenge as it is coming at a period of the global pandemic which is spread to virtually all countries, and advises citizens to avoid large gatherings and have their prayers and feasts individually or with family at home. President Buhari urges Muslims to endure and not use the coronavirus as an excuse to abstain from the Ramadan fast unless such abstinence is warranted by the excuses clearly outlined by health and religious authorities. Meanwhile, Muslim faithful have been enjoined to use the holy month of Ramadan to seek God's divine intervention in the ravaging coronavirus pandemic. Doni Dia has a compilation of messages from some notable Nigerians.
Ramadan The 9th month of the Islamic calendar is observed by Muslim faithful with fasting as one of the 5 pillars of Islam. For the Senate President Ahmed Lawan, this year's Ramadan came at a most unusual time when mankind is contending with an existential threat in the form of the deadly COVID-19 that has shut down the economy and entire social life throughout the world. While urging Muslims to abide by the stipulated guidelines, the Senate President assured them of the government intervention to their plight. The Speaker, House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila, has also congratulated Muslims on the peaceful entry into the month of Ramadan, describing the period as a time of sober reflection and a time to get closer to the Supreme Creator. The Speaker encouraged them to be their brother's keeper, including non-Muslims among them, adding that Muslims should pray for peace, progress and unity of the country, as well as an end to the coronavirus pandemic. Similarly, the chairman North Central Governors Forum and Niger State Governor Abubakar Sani Bello encouraged Muslims to pray for peace and end to the coronavirus pandemic. Governor Sani Bello reminded them on the need to show empathy, piety, alms given to the less privileged and most vulnerable without discrimination. The All Progressives Congress APC has also felicitated with Muslim Ummah on the sighting of the moon and commencement of the Ramadan fast. The APC says while government continue to scale up on the palliatives to support the various segments of the society, it is important for the people to pull themselves along during this period. In the same vein, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has urged Nigerians to use the period of Ramadan to pray fervently for the nation, as well as instill acts of self-restraint as commanded by the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. In Abuja, doing Dia NT News.
Thank you, Doing. Now we have Khadijat Akombi live in Lagos for a situation report on the first day of Ramadan. Khadijat, Ramadan Kareem.
Same to you, Najatu. This is Lagos Central Mosque. And following the sighting of the moon, which was announced yesterday by His Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto, Muslim faithful in Lagos joined their counterparts across the world and indeed Nigeria to commence the Ramadan fast. Usually the month of Ramadan, there is a high level of spiritual consciousness, the Ramadan lectures, the tafsirs, congregational prayers, but the situation is different this time around because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Lagos Central Mosque here has been under lock and key for about 4 weeks now, and all the Jumat mosques in the state have not been operating for the past 1 month. Recently, the Governor of Lagos State, His Excellency Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, appealed to the Muslim faithful to cooperate with the government in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, and the leadership of the Muslim community has also been meeting with the Islamic scholars and the Imam to regulate the conduct of the faithful during this period. I'm being joined by the Chief Imam of Lagos, Sheikh Suleiman Abu Nola, who's going to tell us more about the measures taken to sensitize Islamic scholars and the Imam on how they should comport themselves during this holy month of Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sir, can you tell us what measures have you taken to regulate the conduct of the Imams and Islamic scholars during this period?
Well, first of all, we need to thank Almighty Allah for having and being alive to witness the commencement of Ramadan. Secondly, we need to acknowledge and appreciate the efforts of the Lagos State government under the leadership of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and all the frontline workers that have been helping us to contain and curtail the spread of coronavirus in Lagos State. Mostly, what we are doing, we are collaborating with the Lagos State government, all the religious leaders in the state, in helping us to take a precautionary measures against this pandemic. What we've taken so far is that the Lagos State government has asked all religious leaders in the state, after having a fruitful deliberation and a consultation with all religious leaders, that all religious activities for now should be suspended. So before the commencement of Ramadan, we've suspended Jumat. We've asked all the mosques in the state to close down for now. The only thing we ask them to do is that they can call to prayer. But any gathering, any religious gathering for now has been suspended. We'll equally ask them to sensitize the Muslims, all the worshippers in Lagos, about improving on their personal hygiene, hand washing, using of sanitizers, social distancing. So this has been emphasized on more. And every day we've asked the Imam in their sermons to talk about the significance of the month of Ramadan, more so on the spread of the coronavirus and the impact too on the people. We pray Almighty Allah to assist us.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah. So the federal government and the state government have been rolling out palliatives to assist to cushion the effect of the lockdown. So, like, during a press conference organized by your office about 2 days ago, you talked about the need for the well-to-do in Nigeria to assist the less privileged, particularly at this point in time. Could you expatiate more?
Well, alhamdulillah, well, we all know the importance of Ramadan and the significance of Ramadan, most especially according to the details of the Prophet, that he said that Afdalu Sadaqah to fill Ramadan. Now, the rewarding charity that we do is mostly in Ramadan. So we appeal to our people, because if you look at Lagos, you are looking at like 20 million people. So the government has been doing its bit, but we need to complement their effort by assisting the poor, the needy.
Yeah, thank you, sir. That's about it from Lagos. It's back to you, Najatu.
Ramadan Kareem, Khadija, thank you for that update on the mood in Lagos as well as the measures being taken to curb the coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, as Muslims around the world commence the annual Ramadan fast, which is one of the pillars of Islam, guests on Good Morning Nigeria have advised them to desist from gatherings capable of spreading the coronavirus. Murjanat Adam Saeed reports.
With the sighting of the new crescent for the holy month of Ramadan, Muslims around the globe believe it is time for spiritual rejuvenation. Guests on Good Morning Nigeria say this time around it is going to be Ramadan with a difference, in line with the global reality of the coronavirus pandemic and lockdown.
All this in which we are facing, it is for us to actually start to go back to the pristine Islam, the way we actually used to do Islam. Like what Sheikh said, most of us have failed as leaders, as a family member, with thinking that we are too busy out there, we are doing that out there, and we have abandoned our family.
Many people think that we have connived with the government to prevent them from enjoying the rights of religion. And as such, it is very difficult, and it is a very tedious task to bring them back to their normal senses and understand that this is a pandemic fighting the entire world.
It is very, very essential to educate people. Once they told you that you are hearing deaths and COVID-19, this one died today, this one died in a particular state, and that one is enough for every one of us to take a look into this pandemic, that it is real.
The guests also advise on the need for all to do the right thing and adopt the guidelines, which are only temporary.
It's a trying time, and we must really do as the medical advice really mandates, and it is simple.
They, however, say alternative use of live streaming must be engaged, urging the have to assist the have-not, as the traditional way of sharing food violates the containment protocol of the federal government. In Abuja, Murjanatu Adam Saeed, NTA News.
It's time for a break now. When we return, we'll have a guest in studio who will speak about observing Ramadan with COVID-19 challenges. Stay tuned.
Today, the cessation of movement, physical distancing measures, and the prohibition of mass gatherings remain the most efficient and effective way of reducing the transmission of the virus. By sustaining these measures, combined with extensive testing and contact tracing, we can take control and limit the spread of the disease.
The glorious month of Ramadan is here again, and we at Al-Habibiyah Islamic Society once again call on all faithful to observe the physical and social distancing directive of the government to curb the spread of COVID-19. Always wash your hands with soap and water, use hand sanitizers and face masks when necessary, and stay at home. Observe your obligatory salat, tarawih, tahajjud, du'as, and askars with your families from the comfort of your home. Stay at home, stay safe, stop the spread of COVID-19. This message is from Al-Habibiyah Islamic Society, from Allah to you, a light.
Alpha, say tomorrow still day on.
What's your tomorrow?
Community meeting now.
You know they hear Abi?
Now beggy. See, if we meet for my house, inside parlor, then go no.
This COVID-19 is not a child's play.
If we want to elect a new secretary, we fit to
do one for WhatsApp or for Skype or even on Zoom. Or we just wait.
I will not negotiate
this social distancing. It is non-negotiable.
Not every infected person shows symptoms, but every infected person is contagious. Avoid large gatherings and self-isolate if you think you might have come in contact with a carrier. Your safety and the safety of others is in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
I just don't understand this coronavirus thing. Is it real?
See, coronavirus, known as COVID-19, it's a global problem and has killed thousands of people in China, Italy, Spain, UK, US, and other countries around the world.
Okay. Now, why are they saying that we should stay home?
Because if you go outside and get in contact with someone who is infected, you become infected and then come back home, affect your family. That's how it happens in other countries.
Now, please, help me explain what this social distance is all about.
See, as we are now, the virus travels through the air and by touch. We must maintain 6-foot distance at all times.
Oh, so it's not by washing my hands with soap and water or hand sanitizer that is only important?
Washing of our hands regularly is very important. But we must come together and fight this virus like we did Ebola. It is our responsibility to each other.
This is the Ramadan edition of NTA Nationwide. Now, prior to the sighting of the moon, the Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Sa'ad Abubakar III, urged Muslim faithful to stay at home and pray for the end of the coronavirus pandemic. Sultan Abubakar noted that Islam's position on plagues and pandemics is clear, and that most forms of worship like night vigils and Tarawih can be done at home. Now, the Chief Imam of Area 10 Jummat Mosque, Garki Abuja, Imam Yahya Garba Al-Yolawi, is here to shed more light on this. You're welcome to our studio.
Thank you very much.
And Ramadan Kareem.
Thank you. Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you. Now, what is the best way to practice safe fast during this month of Ramadan in view of the coronavirus pandemic?
Yes, as it is, Alhamdulillah, for the first time, first of all, we must thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for witnessing this kind of periods of blessings and a period where we are expecting our prayers to be answered. And yes, we must observe all the social distance, all the efforts as we can do, but we must put in our mind that we need divine intervention. This divine intervention, why? Because it is beyond our imagination. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that created the the whole thing. Maybe it is out of our sins, out of our activities, that He is trying to draw our attention to come back to our senses in order to be a very good servant of Allah. So now, coming back to your question, how can we have a safe Ramadan fast? Yes, we must observe all the rules, all the injunctions given by the medical practitioners. Because Allah says, "Fas'alu ahla zikr." They are the one knows it better than we do, and they have given some prescriptions. As we follow that, and we add with prayers, underline it, prayers, because we need it. If God forbid we witness something, things that we are seeing there, and it comes to Nigeria, what do you think? And look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is controlling things for us. Up to now, we are not counting more than 1,000. It's just today I saw 980 something. So with the prayers and devotion and stopping all what we are doing, then it will what? It will save a lot for us.
So in that regard, what are religious leaders doing to create more awareness and to ensure that faithful comply with the directives?
You can see a lot of us, a lot of clergymen, scholars are online now. They are up and doing, sending things via YouTube, via Facebook, via all these channels, including, I can see even Zoom now. There is some Zoom meeting that is going on. All the tafsirs now are online. Virtually almost all the activities now are online. And we have been encouraging our people to stay at home, and even the spouses, they should learn how to do their tarawih at home, and let them know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always helping who is helping himself. If you help yourself, then He is there to assist you. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not change a situation for a human being, for a man, or people, until they have changed by themselves. How can we change by ourselves? To what? To put everything in place in order to prevent ourselves from this.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was the Chief Imam of Area 10, Juma Mosque, Imam Yahya Garba Yulawi. Now, in furtherance, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has met with a group of ministers who were directed by the President to jointly develop a comprehensive policy for a Nigerian economy functioning with COVID-19. President Muhammadu Buhari had asked that the Economic Sustainability Committee support the said ministers in executing the directive. The Vice President proceeded with the Ministers of Industry, Trade and Investment, Science and Technology, Transportation, Aviation, Interior, Health, Works and Housing, Labor and Employment, and Education on the work of coordinating the efforts in order to produce a comprehensive economic sustainability plan that will turn the current economic challenges into opportunities for the Nigerian people as envisioned by the President. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Office of the Vice President, Laolu Akonde, says by next week, the Economic Sustainability Committee would also be meeting with the Presidential Economic Advisory Council ahead of the completion and submission of its report to the President. And now let's join Hingino in Lagos for more updates. Hello, Hingino.
Hello, Najaatu. 7 ventilators will be activated by this weekend to cater for serious cases of COVID-19 in Lagos State. The Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, while briefing members of the Lagos State House of Assembly on government's effort at containing the spread of the virus, again called attention to the adherence to social distancing order. Nosa Osula reports.
Saddled with the responsibility of ascertaining the level of progress made by the executive in combating the COVID-19 pandemic in Lagos State had earlier showed legislative support for the government's efforts as well as empathy for residents on the statewide lockdown during their visit to the isolation centers on Tuesday, 21st day of April. During the interactive session, lawmakers expressed concern over the increase in community transmission of COVID-19 in the state and residents' disregard for social distancing as well as other measures put in place by governments to curb the spread of COVID-19.
Leadership is about taking charge. Leadership is about showing the way. And that is what we should be doing.
There needs to be an involvement of the local government. We have a very high percentage of senior citizens. It is a very serious situation, and I am worried.
The State's Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, made it clear that government's priority is to flatten the curve of the virus in the state by curtailing community transmission of the disease.
You do not see these events often, but when you do see them, they will overwhelm even the most sophisticated and well-developed economies.
Professor Abayomi also called for more investment in research and development to prevent the development or reoccurrence of diseases such as COVID-19. In Lagos, Nosa Osula, NTA News.
That's it from Lagos. It's back to you, Najatu.
Thank you, Hingino. Now, the United States government has described the late Chief of Staff to the President, Abba Kyari, as a dedicated public servant and respected interlocutor for the American government. In a condolence message to President Muhammadu Buhari, the Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Tibor Nagy, utilized the important role played by Kyari in the repatriation of more than $300 million looted by former head of state Sani Abacha. The U.S. Assistant Secretary noted that this vision encapsulated by the late Chief of Staff was a reflection of his tireless championing of a solid and prosperous future for Nigeria. While commiserating with the government and people of Nigeria and the Kyari family on the loss, the U.S. government pledged to stand with Nigeria in the struggle against the coronavirus pandemic. The president also received condolence messages from former Minister of the Niger Delta, Usani Uguru Usani, and Kano-based businessman Alhaji Sabi Ubako, and trade union leader Baturi Abdulaziz. Now, COVID-19 has been a challenge for many, compounded in part by the high mortality of malaria, which is said to kill faster than HIV/AIDS. And though World Malaria Day is tomorrow, its impact makes it a continuous subject. With me in the studio is Dr. Adironke Akonde, a consultant public health physician, to tell us more. You're welcome, Doctor.
Thank you for having me.
Now, are there reasons for people with malaria to fear the coronavirus?
Yes, I must say there is a lot of reasons for people with malaria to fear COVID-19, in the sense that malaria has been ravaging this country. Every year we record over 100 million cases, and we have over 1,000 cases of deaths. A majority of these are children under the age of 5 years. So there is a great need to be worried, because a lot of attentions are being driven to COVID-19 rather than to also carried along the underlying endemic diseases in Nigeria.
Now, let's talk about the doctors. 40 doctors found to be positive with COVID-19. What went wrong?
Well, I must say it is very sad to learn that over 40 health workers are now battling with COVID-19. Why do I say so? Because Nigeria currently, the health system is very weak, and we have over less than 75,000 doctors as a whole. So if we are now having about 40 coming down with coronavirus, so it's going to worsen the already weak health system in Nigeria. So there's a cause to be worried, and a lot of things are responsible for this. Perhaps the health workers are not adequately equipped with protective equipment. And you know, so many cases of COVID-19, they refuse to present themselves to the authority in charge of managing the pandemic. They tend to be secretive about it. They move from one hospital to another, endangering the life of people, the life of doctors, the life of health workers, and the life of the community in which they live. So this is responsible in a way. And in another sense, we health workers, we need to take the issue of safety with our hands. We need to take it serious. This is the time for you not to see any patient without PPE. You need to request for protective equipment before you attend to a patient, and we need to reason along, because there's a lot of cases that will present and they will not show the specific symptoms of COVID-19. So
you're talking about safety being on both sides, both on the part of the doctors and those coming to the hospital.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you.
And now we'll head to Jos for more reports as Plateau State records the first case of coronavirus. Caleb is standing by.
Thank you very much, Najatu. Welcome to Jos. The Plateau State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Nimkom Lardam, says the state surveillance team has commenced contact tracing of the index case while strengthening other public health measures to curb the spread. Ashezi Gopep reports.
The COVID-19 test was conducted on the index case, who came into Jos from Kano on 17th April 2020 and has been quarantined since arrival. The commissioner said on investigation of the suspected case, who exhibited symptoms, the lab results from NVRI VOM released on Thursday 23rd April returned positive.
We have a confirmed case of COVID-19 in Plateau State, an index case. Well, and picked her, took her to our isolation quarantine center. She stayed there for 2 or 3 days, and then she started showing some symptoms. We took her samples for tests, sent it to NVRI, and the result came out positive. We will do our best to be sure that this will not escalate. We are doing contact tracing, and we are on top of the issue.
Meanwhile, the Commissioner for Health said the patient is in isolation and the condition is stable. He further advised the public not to panic, but to continue to imbibe good personal hygiene, social distancing, and to avoid crowded places, as well as stay at home. In Jos, Ashez Gopep, NTA News.
Ajatu Ramadan Karim from Jos.
Thank you, Caleb. Now, as part of efforts to prevent the spread of COVID-19, the Bayelsa state government has commenced the demolition of illegal structures in major markets within Yenagoa, the state capital. Emeka Okpala reports.
This was the complaint presented by traders who also claimed that they are not given adequate notice before the demolition.
If government want to push us out of this place, they have to arrange that place for us to go. And the place they say we should go, if you go to that place, it's a forest.
They are demolishing somebody's property. You have to give him at least 7 days, at least 7 days.
But the leader of the task force and chairman implementation committee on COVID-19 in the state, Dr. Inodu Akpoku, said the exercise is to ensure full implementation of the social distancing order by the state government.
You can now see, we are seeing a bright hair from here. Before, you cannot even recognize where you are.
Another member of the team and technical assistant to the governor, Dr. Bomas Pere Jack, said government had severally directed the affected traders to relocate to the new stores, especially during this pandemic, but to no avail.
We are very stubborn. That is the outcome of it. All of us, we are aware. The date that was even given to us, another extra time was even given to us for the vacation.
The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Information and Orientation, Mr. Friston Akpo, who conducted newsmen round the over 600 new market stores, assured the traders that government meant well for them.
This will enhance the social distancing, because if you go to the market and you want to buy pepper and tomato, you know exactly where you have to go to. You want to buy meat, you know exactly where you have to go to avoid this shoulder rubbing and then also enhance social distancing.
Emeka Okbala, MTN News.
With the inauguration of a joint technical team on emergency response to COVID-19 by the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohammed Sabo Nanunu, the federal government is taking what it describes as a decisive action against transport operators who hide under free movement of agricultural produce to carry passengers. Musa Baba Aliu reports.
Almost all states of the Federation are under lockdown as part of efforts to curb the spread of COVID-19. Only agricultural produce, petroleum products, and pharmaceutical consumables are allowed to be moved from one location to another by any means of transportation. However, it has been observed that motorists, especially truck drivers, are taking advantage of that to transport people, thereby increasing community transmission of coronavirus. It is based on this that the Interministerial Committee on Food Security set up a task force to be headed by the AIG operations to check abuses associated with the movement of agricultural produce and inputs across the country.
But one thing we will not tolerate, and this is something very important that transport union should note, that any movements of goods, agricultural input, should not be accompanied by passengers. This is a very clear instruction that we have to give it to all the transporters.
The task force has also been directed to allow farmers access to their farms and move freely with inputs such as seeds and fertilizer.
It's a very, very important national assignment. Remember that you are assisting the ministers to implement the directive of Mr. President. So for media is up to this job because it is important to the survival of our nation.
Members of the task force consist of officers of the Nigerian Army, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, All Farmers Association, as well as officials of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Dibabari in Port Harcourt is next on Nationwide.
Najahatu. River State government has released 62 inmates at the State Correctional Center as measures to decongest the prisons in this era of COVID-19. The State Chief Judge, Justice Adama Iyai Lamikra, said action is in response to the directive from the federal government. Jenny Bassi reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari had earlier this month granted pardon to some inmates of the custodial centers of the Nigerian Correctional Service. In compliance with this directive, Rivers State government released 62 inmates with a charge to them to comply with the sit-at-home order of the state government until it's lifted. Chief Judge of the State, Justice Iyai Lamikra Adama, said those convicted for serious crimes like kidnapping, murder, and armed robbery were not included.
As you go from day to day, don't go back to committing crime.
Comptroller, Correctional Service, River State Command, Timothy Tinuoye, thanked the federal and state governments for the release, noting that it is a great relief to the center in this critical moment that COVID-19 is posing a threat to human existence.
For this social distancing, the prison is congested, most of you know, and we have made our move so that some of the inmates can be released. And so today that the Chief Judge has carried out that function, we are indeed happy that there will be more space in some of the cells.
The 62 inmates were given stipends for transportation to their various destinations. In Port Harcourt, Jenny Bassi, NTA News.
And that does it from Port Harcourt. Nationwide, we continue right after the break. Good evening.
In this time of despair, our country, Nigeria, needs us now more than ever. We stand a chance to save our great country, Nigeria. A chance to rise up from this pandemic stronger and better. What will be the gain if we do not learn from other countries and observe the lockdown to stop the further spread of the virus? If we loosen our guards and allow this virus doom our very existence, then what have we gained? This is the call to every Nigerian to unite as one and stop the spread of this deadly virus. Stay at home and stay safe. Remember, the virus doesn't move unless we move. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
As you can see, I'm at home. I'm reading a book. When I get bored, I watch movies. Life has not stopped. Together we can beat this thing. All we have to do is make sure we do the necessary things, which is wash our hands, use a hand sanitizer frequently, wash your hands with soap. Please avoid crowded environments, crowded places. If you must head out maybe to get groceries, use the face mask. So please stay safe, stay responsible, and stay at home.
As a strong immune system increases the chances of victims surviving COVID-19, a corruption-free society creates opportunities for citizens to thrive and prosper. Build your immunity. Stop corruption now. Report all acts of corruption to ICPC on this toll-free number 0800 22 55 4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
Over the past few seasons, Airtel Touching Lives has helped to empower and uplift thousands of Nigerians, and this season was no different.
People are really suffering.
I still have a hope.
I know that God doesn't leave things halfway.
Thank you to all our viewers for inviting us into your homes and sharing in our journey as we continue to change lives.
There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media, on the coronavirus. Do not believe or partake in the spread of these fake reports. If it is not on the official website or news from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disregard such report. Only together can we beat this virus. Only together can we overcome this pandemic. Follow the instructions and guidelines provided to combat this virus. Most importantly, stay at home. Self-isolate, regardless of your status. The virus doesn't move unless we move. Let us work together to better Nigeria. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Thanks for staying with NTA Nationwide. Amidst the COVID-19 lockdown and Ramadan fast, hundreds of indigent and vulnerable people in Yobe State are set to benefit from assorted food items donated by the Northeast Development Commission as part of its multinational, multidimensional humanitarian intervention to cushion the hardship faced by targeted beneficiaries across the Northeast. Yunusa Suleiman reports.
The donation of the food items, according to the Northeast Development Commission, is part of a much bigger humanitarian intervention planned to be unveiled soon, meant to ameliorate the sufferings of the targeted beneficiaries distressed by the insurgency and COVID-19 lockdown.
Committee has been set up in the local government areas, down to the wards and to the polling units. So this item will equally follow the same channel, and the method used was that the stakeholders in the local government are responsible for ensuring distribution at the local government level to the wards and to the units.
2 brand new ambulances and 50 hospital beds were also donated by the Commission for Yobe State Government to strengthen its preparedness, prevention and control efforts against COVID-19 and other emergencies.
One of the principal mandates of the Commission is to assist the IDPs
and the vulnerable. Initially, we are to deal with the issue of Boko Haram and IDPs. The COVID-19 has also ravaged this nation, and then we feel that people have lost a lot of time and money, so the little assistance will come from the NDC will be of help.
The donation of the food items came few weeks after the commission handed over some medical equipment to the Yobe State COVID-19 Committee on Prevention and Control to fight the outbreak of coronavirus in the state. In Damaturu, Yunusa Suleiman, NTA News.
Let's now join Mohammed in Maiduguri for more on Nationwide. Ramadan Kareem, Mohammed.
Ramadan Mubarak Najatu, thank you and welcome to Maiduguri. The state so far has 12 confirmed cases of coronavirus, out of which 2 died, including a case from Gombe who later died at an isolation center in Maiduguri. The State High-Powered Response Team for the Prevention and Control of COVID-19 has therefore reiterated commitment to tracing all contact persons during the lockdown period to slow down and contain community spread of the virus. Paul Nkujevana has an update on Day 3 media briefing by the response team.
The daily situation briefing is meant to keep the public abreast of development regarding COVID-19 with the lockdown in place. Commissioner of Health Dr. Salisu Kwayabura said out of the confirmed cases in Borno, 7 receiving treatment at the isolation center are in stable condition and with close monitoring by the health workers despite the death of the Gombe confirmed patient at the center. According to him, 11 samples from the Pulka Index case manifested no symptoms, with the response team receiving 5 alerts to be evaluated and reported soon.
I would like to appreciate the effort of each and everyone. We will soon overcome these challenges and be able to move forward.
The committee expressed satisfaction with the level of compliance with the lockdown and appealed to the citizens to see the order as measures to improve their well-being and pledged to employ certain strategies to cushion the hardship that might arise from this lockdown.
We pray and hope that we do not register any more victims. As the briefing goes on, any single thing that is discovered along the line will definitely be related to you.
We are deliberately giving both positive and negative cases. Borno is a crisis environment. Then in crisis communication, there is what is called plus-minus approach.
Contact tracing, isolation, and quarantine of suspected cases are being vigorously pursued by the high-powered response team, both within and outside Maiduguri, the state capital, to contain community spread. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana, NTA News.
That is all from Maiduguri. Nationwide continues in Abuja with Najatu. Happy Iftar.
Thank you, Mohammed. I wish you a happy Iftar too. Now, commercial motorcycle riders, popularly known as Okada in Kwara State, will start to receive a loan of 5,000 naira each next week. Kwara State Governor Abdurrahman Abdurazak says the money is to ease their financial burden during this lockdown period. Raliat Ibrahim reports.
100 million naira will be disbursed to 20,000 Okada riders in Kwara State. Governor Abdurrahman Abdurazak was at Government Secondary School in Ilorin where the enumeration of beneficiaries was being done. He told the Okada riders the loan was part of the state government's social investment program.
We've seen the impact of COVID-19 on their businesses and the stay-at-home order. That's why we decided to enumerate them and give them aid for their businesses, because how do you expect them to survive sitting at home not working? So this also will be extended to other segments of the economy.
Kogi-born Andrew Aigboka is an Okada rider who resides in Ilorin, Kwara State. He has been having difficulty feeding his family since the start of the lockdown.
It's not easy for us, but with this one now, by the special grace of God, we are going to manage up.
The loan will be extended to all sectors of the economy to ensure businesses do not grind to a halt during the lockdown period and after. Raliat Ibrahim, NTA News.
The National Judicial Council, under the chairmanship of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad, has instituted a 10-man committee on court sittings. This was at its 91st meeting held online on 22nd and 23rd April. The committee, which has Honorable Justice Olabode Rhodes Viva as its chairman, is to present urgent but practical strategic measures to ensure courts continue to function despite the lockdown and COVID-19 challenges. Its terms of reference include guidelines for a template for implementation to explore possible areas of collaboration between the judiciary and the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. The committee has 14 days to submit its report. The council also recommended the compulsory retirement of Honorable Justice Francis Chukwuma Abosi, Acting President, Customary Court of Appeal, Imo State, and Honorable Justice Aliu Musa Liman of Bauchi State High Court of Justice with immediate effect. And that's all on Nationwide for now. Thank you for watching. Remember to stay at home and wash your hands every 20 minutes.